Welcome to another episode of the Ben More Brief podcast. Today we have a client that we've been working with for a couple months now, right? 6 or 7 months now.
Yeah,
And we're wrapping up his application. Daniel Fuquay from Florida, correct?
that's correct. Yes.
From Florida, correct? So Daniel is creating a musical application that's a desktop application, and it aims to provide a tool set for live bands when they're recording or I guess vocalizing like backing tracks. Is that correct? I mean, you can
That's
explain it
correct.
probably better than I can.
Yes. Yes. So most venues nowadays, when they're asking for a live band, because of where the economy is right now, they cannot afford a live four-piece, five-piece, eight-piece band. So now they're looking for duos or solo acts. So it's kind of hard when you're a solo or a duo to get that live band sound. So what my application does, it will allow an individual musician, whether you're a guitarist, a pianist, a vocalist, to use the application to sound like a full band, pretty much to have a whole band in your pocket. This application will provide tracks, backing tracks for popular songs. You'll be able to cover thousands of songs for one gig. It will allow you to fade in and fade out. If you're a vocalist, you can take out the main vocal parts. If you're a guitarist, you can take out the guitar part to allow you to perform that at that venue.
Right. Yeah. And that's very interesting. As we were just talking about, I think a lot of people understand music as, studio sessions, very electronic focused. There's the huge DAWs, Power Tools, Logic, Fruity Loops. I think that's what it's called, right? Fruity
Yeah.
Loops is
Yeah.
Fruity Loops.
Yeah.
There's probably one or two more in there. I think there's one that starts with an A, right? I don't know, Aka or something.
Like Ableton.
Ableton, that's what it.
Yeah.
Ableton, yeah. And it was interesting learning about this project myself, frankly, just because of the live band sort of industry. But it makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, how many times have you been to a restaurant or a bar and there's someone performing live? That is probably happening thousands of times every weekend throughout the country and throughout the world. Yeah, it's just an interesting thing to think about, as well as that those musicians have software. There's a capability for them to use software as well. There's a couple other software products out there for live bands, but definitely not as popular as your Logic Pro or your
And
or
most of the
DJ
apps that are already
software.
out there is catered to karaoke. So you have that karaoke sound. It's not as much quality. You don't have that real live sound. It sounds more computerized. So it's lackluster for professionals who want to sound like studio quality.
Right, exactly. And I think the biggest thing here as well is it's like you were mentioning, it's an entry into the market where like you don't necessarily need to get together for people with all the instruments, the logistics surrounding transportation, the sound setup in a live setting. Instead, you can facilitate that through, like you said, a band in your pocket, which is a very, very cool idea. I want to touch a little bit on your story. So you're in Florida now. How long have you been into music as a musician? Walk me through your story getting involved in the music.
Sure. Yeah. So my main instrument is the saxophone. So I've been playing the sax for about 20 years now. I started when I was 11 years old. Fell in love with music at a very young age. I've started to professionally gig around 2017, 2018. That's when I started gigging full time. I used to sell medical insurance, hated the industry. It was good money, but hated the industry. So when COVID hit around 2020, that's when my business started picking up a lot when it comes to music. Ironically, when we were locked down, people were still getting married. They were still having functions here in Florida because we were the rebellious ones. We were still open. So there were some bars and there were some restaurants that wanted live entertainment to help draw individuals to come out. So once COVID kind of passed over, more and more events and opportunities opened up for me. So I since 2019, I've did 1,000 weddings, and I've done a lot of corporate events. And I noticed going to these events, when they ask for live entertainment, they're not looking for a full band. It was hard for me to even get individuals together to form a band, but they just wanted live entertainment. And what I wanted to do was provide them with great entertainment, great live entertainment. So I noticed a few websites where you could download karaoke tracks, and I began to use them at live events. Of course, untrained ears, they would say, "Oh, you sound great," but me, I would cringe because I hated that sound. I didn't like that cheesy sound that karaoke tracks would give off. So I found a couple of programs and a couple of technology that will allow you to do what I wanted, but it was so limited. And it was very expensive to download their software. So I got the idea to create something that will help musicians like myself perform live events. And as doing my research, I found Benmore Technology and helped me, and they walked me through the process of how to make my vision come to life.
Yeah. I mean, it's been very interesting. I think we talked about this initially during our engagement, but I have a soft spot with music as well, is that most of our applications are not in the musical space. And audio engineering is surprisingly, as software goes, pretty technically complex. It's signal processing. It's not like, I'd say like your Instagram application where it's just like uploading, data and stuff like that. You have to do complex signal processing. So if you're doing key changes, you have to literally go in there, process the signal, change the wavelengths. And it's just very interesting. And it's something that I think a lot of people take for I don't want to say take for granted, but maybe there's not as much understanding that like the advent of electronic music is really mathematically and computer based.
Yes.
Surprisingly mathematically computer based, and it's a very, very interesting industry. And I can talk about the technical complexities. I'm sure you've talked to the developer, Muse, who's been on the project. I mean, we had to, create an audio processing engine and a whole bunch of stuff in very low language, complex computer science language. But it's been very cool. It's been very interesting to dive into that side of the technology. And the nice thing about it is, if you think about barrier to entry, right? Like it's hard to find a musician or someone who understands musical theory, who also understands like audio engineering. Obviously, they have that degree, but not only audio engineering, but then software development. So you kind of need to understand those three sides of the equation. It's been a very, very interesting project.
Yes.
So moving into where do you? So I assume you're gonna use this tool yourself, right?
Yes.
Where do you see an opportunity for marketing? I mean, how do you even connect with other band, like individual acts, like band members? What are your thoughts in terms of marketing here?
Yeah, there's a community actually that I've stumbled across and just searching the web trying to find help personally for myself. And there's actually a community out there where we came together and threw some ideas with each other. And there's a few programs that we use personally or currently right now. And I say, you know what, I will take the ideas that you all bring me and I'll see what I can do with them. So there's a community of about almost 5,000 of us right now that use different programs. And the idea is for once I go to beta test with this new app, I'm going to let them beta test it. I'll select a few, probably about 1,000 of those individuals to beta test the application. And from there, once we get it up to par, we're going to launch it out on the app stores and let that community that's been searching and looking for help use the application and then grow and go from there.
Right. So I wanted to touch on one thing as well. Let's talk about that, like karaoke. Now, I know exactly what you're talking about. I told you I got into software development because I initially got into music production. Those karaoke tracks oftentimes are replicated, and you can tell they're replicated on a DAW using, you can just tell, like you said, to an untrained ear, well, you can't really tell the difference, but to a musician, there's a big difference that you can pick up between some key that's been recorded once and then has been keyed up down versus someone who's, played the backing track. And so that's one thing that I know you're going to do as well, right? Is you're going to take there's going to be a service component, right? Where you're going to take popular song requests and then potentially re-record them and upload those live backing tracks and then use the tooling to, mesh the BPM or change the key. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Saying that
That's correct. Okay. Yes.
Okay. And how is that a common problem in the live music space currently? Do other people share that sort of problem with the karaoke music? It was very electronic, very clearly DAW produced. Okay,
that is the main issue that we come across in this forum. That when we discuss, you have to either purchase a whole separate track that's in a different key, which can be very expensive. There's 12 keys in the scale. So imagine 12 times $299 or $399 or $499, however much the track is. So it gets very expensive along the line. And then the actual applications that's out there that use karaoke forms, it sounds very electronic and it gets distorted and doesn't sound proper when you're trying to give a professional show. It shows that you're at a karaoke bar when you're trying to do a corporate event. So that's a lot of issues that we kept running into.
Got you. And so let me ask this to you as well. So I want to talk a little bit about like the corporate events, just a little bit about the industry. So you say you're mainly getting booked at weddings, corporate events, etc. So
Right.
how is that performance, like what are those types of, like can you walk me through what that the difference is performing there versus obviously there's a huge difference between studio, session. You can't say, let's re-record that section. It has to be live. But walk me through like what those specific types of clients are looking for. What are their sort of, what are they looking for in a corporate event with live music specifically?
Sure. Most corporate events that I've done before, they've heard me previously. So they will say, I love your set list that you did at this one particular event. I want you to do this same set. Versus a wedding where they say, I'm walking down the aisle to this song. I want to do a father-daughter dance to this song, a mother-son dance to this song, and we want it to sound close to the track, to the actual recording. So when you get presented with items like that, you have to make sure you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And make sure that it sounds quality, because when a bride, this is the special day, this is her wedding, this is her special day, you want to make sure it's right. And one little thing that's off can ruin the whole day. Right. So you want to make sure you're on your A game. So when you have something quality like the app that you all helped me create, it just it's life changing for the bride, and it's a breath of fresh air for the one that's performing, because you don't have to worry about the cheesy karaoke sound, or you have to worry about, will this transfer well over to the audience or to the bride? You just make sure that you provide the quality sound that you know you have.
Got you. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So it is a different, I mean, it's literally a performance versus, when you're in a studio, you can, punch back in or punch back out as needed. Walk me through your journey of, I know you have your own business, right, with where you perform these events. Walk me through how that got started. Did you just, started playing here and there, and then people started asking you, hey, can you do it at my wedding? Can you do it at, my event, stuff like that? And then you just had enough business to take it on full time, or?
It found me. I always say music found me. I stated before, I was selling medical insurance, and a friend of mine, he said, hey, there's a local restaurant, they're looking for live entertainment. I was like, I don't know what to do. I play on the side here and there. I play in church as well. I don't know about playing out in front of people. I said, just try it. So me and him, we were the headliners for a Friday night show at a local restaurant. They loved it, and word spread like wildfire. So it was just a Friday night. Then it turned to a Friday, Saturday night, and then it turned to other restaurants hearing about us because we were drawing crowds. Mm-hmm. Flash forward about 2 or 3 years later, he got an altercation with the owner, so it was on me. It was like, you're the headline now. I'm like, I don't have a catalog. I was so used to him playing the piano. I was doing the sax. We had a thing going on. So I had to literally do research on pulling songs off of YouTube and finding the karaoke tracks, just using those. Mm-hmm. So it went from 2 days, a Friday, Saturday, to now another restaurant want me there on Monday. And then in another restaurant me on a Tuesday. So it became a whole full week, Monday through Saturday, me performing every week. And I noticed the crowds really into the music, really into the songs. They would suggest different genres, and I would have to do research. I would go on YouTube trying to find different songs. Certain songs I had access to, certain songs I didn't have access to. And it was really mind-blowing, because I'm like, people really want to escape their 9 to 5. They want to go to a restaurant, they want to eat some food, and they want to hear some great entertainment. And I felt the pressure. So once I got my groove, I finally found my groove. I knew what songs to do. I knew what songs when they wanted to just rest, relax, and just eat. And I knew what songs when they wanted to perform, they wanted to dance, they wanted to get up and start just having a good party time. I knew what songs to do. But my only issue was trying to find access to getting the level of quality of sound that they needed. So do a lot of trial and error and a lot of word of mouth. That's how the word got out of what I do. And it just took off from there.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. So it sounds like you said you played the saxophone in church. Have you been playing that like throughout most of your life, or how long have you been playing the saxophone?
Yeah, I've been playing it 20 years now. Oh, excuse me, no, 25 years now. I started when I was 11. Okay. 11 years old. I saw it when I was in church. Another young lady was playing it, and I picked it up one day, and it grew with me. So I was playing it in middle school, high school, and from there, I just fell in love with the saxophone. I never put it down. I found when I get stressed or get overstimulated with the work or with whatever, I go to music and I find my way of escape through music. Like I said, since the age of 11, I haven't put it down. So it's become my bread and butter now.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been playing the piano, I think since a similar age. I found it's a great escape. I was never a sheet music person though. I always loved picking a key and just kind of going.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if that's the same with you, but I've never really liked the sheet music. I know that's important, but I was never good
Yes.
at, some people they can look at the sheet music and they don't even have to, I don't know if it is with the saxophone, but with the piano, they don't even look at their hands
Yeah.
and they can just see
Yeah.
sheet music and
Right.
they've never played the song before. They can just, not compose, but just play something
Right.
random
Right.
for I could never do that, but I've always
I
been
envy those
able.
people. I envy those people. I do.
Yeah, it's
I would.
crazy. It's
I read a
crazy.
little. I read a little. I read a little sheet music. I know back in high school, middle school, we had what's called sight reading. They'll put music in front of you and you just have to do it right off the fly. But I use my ear. If I hear it, I can replicate the sound and do it. I love just focusing on my ear.
Got you. Do you have perfect pitch or do you have relative pitch?
Relative pitch. I
Relative.
don't have
Yeah.
perfect pitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Relative.
What is it like perfect pitch? You have to be born with that, right?
It can be
isn't it
actually. It can be developed. I've
really?
seen some
Okay.
people develop perfect pitch,
Really?
but most people are born with perfect pitch. You do like a C, and you hear, well, that's a C, or you can hear raindrops, and you say, oh, that's an A. It's
Yeah, yeah. It's
very,
crazy.
very wild. Very
It's
wild.
crazy. Yeah, one of my buddies in high school, I think he's doing Broadway shows now. But he was just one of those individuals who he just had perfect pitch, and I'd just be, I'd open like a can or something, and he'd be like C sharp, and I was
Yeah.
like, all right, like, what do you want to? Let's record this. Let's make a song out of this, I guess. But yeah, no, it was crazy. And now, have you come across anyone? I guess who's the most like? That's my buddy. He was crazy pianist. I would say overall musician, like a pianist. But then, if you pick up one instrument, some people can just those skills translate very quickly to like drums. I think that's a big one, right? Like if you can pick up an instrument and you're really good with rhythm, you can pick up the drums pretty quickly. Not to say that, I mean, those are both extremely complex, but have you ever just met like a savant musician that's just, you just come across them and they're like, wow, this is clearly what you were born for.
I have. I mean, one guy, he's also a saxophonist. He started with the sax, and then his church needed a pianist, so he started picking up piano. I'm like, what are you doing? I thought you were a sax player. Next thing you know, they called a gig for a drummer. He's on the drums, and he's playing trombone, and now he's doing the organ. I mean, he can do any instrument. I'm like, this guy's a freak of nature, but I love it because whatever he touches, when it's musically, he can bring it to life. So yes, I have encountered someone like that.
Got you. One thing that I think I loved about music as well is there's nothing quite like just the creative aspect of it. Like sheet music, like there's a technical aspect of music, sheet music, and of course the theory behind music. But there is a very creative aspect. Like sometimes you just sit in a room with maybe a pianist or a drummer, or what was more with me was on the electronic side, like a saxophonist, for example, and you make the track and you kind of sit in an environment and it's really almost like a pure bliss of creation. It's a very interesting, unique feeling of just being in a very collaborative yet creative environment. How have you encountered that first and foremost? And can you speak to that? How is that different in like a live band sort of aspect? Do you ever just I guess I'm trying to think of the specific word here. Improvise. Do you ever improvise stuff on the fly, like in a band? Gotcha.
All the time. Whether it be a live show or a professional, like a corporate event, I'm always improvising. I go off the mood of the audience, of the crowd.
Really? Okay.
I can scope the room, and I see, you know what, they're eating, they're talking. Let me make it more laid back, and I'll do my softer, dinner music. But if I see they're trying to get rowdy, I see they're drinking more, I'm like, okay, let's crank it up some. And I can just do whatever on the fly. Music has such a special frequency where you can control the atmosphere.
Yeah.
If
Yes.
I've actually done it where I've seen a couple at dinner arguing, like they're fighting verbally, going back and forth. And I'll play a certain song, and they kind of they'll calm them down, and next thing you know, they're up dancing with each other. So I love how the power of music, it can change any room, it can change any atmosphere.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've thought about this as well because you'd be harder pressed to find any sort of, I guess, thing that exists that can really inject emotions into people as quickly as music.
Yes.
You can put on a happy song and you will see someone be so happy, and then literally without any like you will just change the song to maybe classical, and it really resonates with people. So I don't know, it's a very human thing
Yes.
to have emotion invoked to you so clearly through music. It's very interesting.
I can
So
tell you, just
go ahead.
on yesterday, I was invited to perform at a senior living facility, and I was in the memory care unit. And most of these individuals, they have dementia; they're not really there mentally. And I was asked to play. I was really reluctant. I was hesitant to do it, but I agreed to do it. I went there yesterday, and kid you not, I mean, you could tell they looked like vegetables. They weren't all the way there. But as soon as I start playing and as soon as I start singing, you can see the light bulb come on. And they're mouthing the words to the song. So these people, these patients that have dementia, they're recalling their actual memory of when this song was out or where they were when this song was placed. That's why I love the power of music. It can go so much deeper than what we can do with words.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really is. It's like, what do they say? I mean, they say what, like 90 or 85% of human communication is not even verbally based. It's based off body language and other stuff like that. Music is, again, like it's just one of those. I mean, who knows why it exists? It really is just a combination of sounds, like
Yes.
just literal vibrations in the air.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, that impacts us so deeply. You said you can tie it to memory, you can tie it to, emotions, you can tie it to, I'm sure I mean, this is just going off of my memory, but I know that I remember back in middle school, we did a science project on basically just like for your science fair, but it was basically testing if music can change the heart rate of an individual. Like if you put on like a calming song versus it was specifically, I remember it was because I loved it. It was Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. So we put on the Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. I think we put on Beethoven, and yeah, absolutely had physiological changes so there are literal physical changes that you encounter when you literally just hear a combination of frequencies. And there's a whole bunch of theories that just talking is music in itself, right? The inflections in your voice is a form of music. So it goes very deep. But the most interesting thing that I found from a technical aspect is, like I was saying earlier, is the how mathematical it can get. So did you ever study music formally or
I did not.
okay.
I've had the opportunity to do it. I had two full ride scholarships to a school here in Florida. It was Bethune-Cookman University and also FAMU University. I had two full scholarships. I felt like I wasn't prepared to do it, just where I was in life. But a lot of people ask me, do I regret that? I don't regret that decision. If I had the opportunity to do it again, I may choose this decision of not going to college to study music. I would recommend someone, if they want to get into the music realm, to study music, to know the technicality behind it, the theory behind it. But I just learned as I went, and I just appreciate my journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those, and I think, again, another connection here to computer science. It's one of those disciplines that, unlike, let's say, being a doctor or a lawyer, you don't need any sort of license. There's not a very big barrier to entry. You can learn about music theory online. There's plenty of courses. You can teach yourself music. You really can. And all that you really need is sometimes you just need your voice, like you have an instrument built in, but a piano or a keyboard, not a piano. You don't need a $10,000, Steinway, but a piano or a keyboard. But what's interesting to me is a lot of the mainstream music, especially with the advent of electronic technology, it's really lowered that barrier to entry. Where if you're talented in music or you're around it and you have a passion for it, there's many successful artists that don't know music theory at all, at all, at all. And they'll just go off their voice. That really genuine composers. And I think this has been of course, there's a classic case of Beethoven being deaf, right? So it's a very like, intrinsic human thing. Now, let me put it this way. So you've just learned the saxophone, and you've just been walk me through your how do you sharpen your skills? Like, is it just practice? Is there any sort of methodology that you have to continue to get better? Or is it just playing? Walk me through how you practice your discipline.
When I'm asked that question, it's funny because I perform 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and I tell individuals when I'm out performing, that's when I rehearse. Now, of course, there are some times where I'm here home or in the studio, I will work on a song because from 2019 to 2024, in that span of time, I did 1,000 weddings, and some songs I don't know, some songs I do know. So I actually have to learn 4 songs by next week. That's how crazy it gets for me. But I take time just when I have an off day or if I have some free time, I'll listen to the song over and over and over and over. And then I'll pick up the sax and I'll try to find the notes and find the sweet spot where what works for me. And then I'll give my interpretation. I think with music is so important to give your interpretation of the song versus trying to sound just like the artist or just like the one who's doing the song. Give your interpretation of what you hear.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with you because even if you do try to replicate one to one, you're never going to be able to replicate someone's own style. Like, it's so nuanced. I'm sure it's the same way with the saxophone, but like just the way that the amount of pressure that you apply to a key on the piano and how that aggregates over the course of a piece creates its own vibe. And that's just not even your pedal usage. That's not even, the length. It's just, it's so nuanced. And I assume it's the same way with the saxophone. So you're almost in your best bet if you're trying to replicate a piece. You should try to put your own style on it. You just should. So, how is it now? It seems to be an interesting business, and this is one thing that is just interesting to me. Like with our business here at Benmore, it's pretty easy to scale because it's service based. I wouldn't even say scale, but grow. You just hire developers, you hire people. How would you scale? Are you limited by your time in your business? Is there a way for you to, I guess, hire more bandwidth? If you wanted to go from 1,000 events to 5,000 events, is there a way to enterprise? Is that something you want to do even with your current business?
It's very unique, I would say, because I was just reading a book. I forgot the name of the book, but it's by the same author that did Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he was saying, when you're limited to time, you're not an entrepreneur. You're still doing it. It's pretty much just like doing a 9 to 5. And I've been thinking about that lately of how do I scale my business because I am pretty much the product.
Yeah.
And I'm just one person. And doing 1,000 weddings, it could be tasking. I don't have PTO. I don't have vacation time. So if I'm not gigging, there's no income.
Money. Yeah.
So I found other ways. I have 2 albums that I've done in that span of since 2019. I did 2 albums. So that's a way to get income in as well. I'm actually working on mentorship and lessons. I know a lot of people have asked me for years, do you do lessons? Have you done lessons? So I'm in the process of setting that up to help teach individuals how to do what I do. I'm thinking about doing a master class on how to properly or professionally do gigs because there are people out there that do gigs and if there's a sense of quality that you have to bring to your performance. You're not just at a bar gig, you're not just...
You're a performer,
You're performing. You have to show, you have to become the artist that they're looking for. And you have to be professional with it. So I'm thinking about doing a master class and doing some type of e-class, something like that, to help upcoming artists that's looking to gig.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you say that. I've seen that quite commonly with like athletic trainers. I think that you could make a comparison there, like your athletic trainer. Like imagine I'm sure you've seen these like celebrity athletic trainers and they'll do like work with LeBron James or, whatever, professional athletes. And the way that I've seen them enterprise, because at the end of the day, you're growing a business, but you're also growing a personal brand in that sense, right? Like it's not holistically like, I don't know, like Samsung, for example. Like I don't know who the CEO of Samsung is, but there's a multi-billion-dollar business, right? But it's somewhat predicated on yourself. One thing that I'm just thinking here is we have your tool, and if you opened up a class for performers, and that's a specific niche of the industry. It's like, and you could even work with, I think, like larger artists because, they're performers in their own right. But it's just your person who's trying to do solo gigs. One thing that I've seen be very successful with like athletic trainers is they will open up a master class for like how to be an athletic trainer, right? But then they will also sell their athletic training software to now their cohort of people who they're training to be athletic trainers. I've seen that be very successful. And that's just one thing that came to mind was like, I think opening up a class for, how to be a musical performer, the nuances of performing live, and doing that at events, weddings, and like the income earning opportunity there. You really do have the whole quit my 9 to 5 journey. And people really take that and they're like, oh, quit your 9 to 5. I wouldn't do that, put out hi, I've been performing at wedding events for the last 5 years, and I quit my 9 to 5, and I work from anywhere at any time. I wouldn't, but you know what I'm saying. But
we've seen two of those, a ton of those videos.
Yeah, exactly. But you could, be like, if you want to take you are someone who's had success, been able to do it full time. I mean, you also do have a product that is meant to support those people. I can see that being very successful. Is building a community surrounding that, and then also just that could be a great marketing tactic. That just came to mind because you literally have built a software product that is meant to service people that you can directly teach. So I don't know if you thought that. Sorry, I mean that just came to mind.
That's my part of my 5-year plan with this application.
Very cool, very cool. So let's talk about those albums. Are they what genre are they? Jazz, and are they your own albums? Like you're like not replicating anything. They're your own.
They're covers. They're covers.
They are covers. Okay.
It's called The Sound of Love Volume 1 and Volume 2. You can find it in the Apple Store. You can find it in whatever digital music streaming. You can find it on YouTube. It's called The Sound of Love Volume 1 and I have Volume 2 as well. I do an array of songs that I perform at live events. I like to say I've been bullied to do this album or these albums. During my performances, individuals will say, do you have a CD? And at the time I didn't have a CD. And they will say, well, you need to get one done. And I felt like, okay, it's time to go ahead and do one. So I did the first album. It was released on my birthday, I think in 2021. Nice. And then the next, I guess, few years, they're like, you got to do another album. We want some more. We want more music. So I went in the studio and just released some more of the songs that I've performed live at different weddings or different events.
I see the cover picture here. You're killing it on this cover
Thank
picture.
You.
This is looking electric. How's the music industry down in Florida? How is the music industry down in Florida?
It is live. It is great. I live in New Smyrna Beach, which is about maybe 20 minutes from Daytona Beach. It's a hidden gem. We like to say it's a hidden gem. The food is great here, but the entertainment is even better. Almost every restaurant in New Smyrna, you're going to have live entertainment.
Really?
Yes. There's a lot of festivals that we have, a seafood festival, a jazz festival. We have a lot of entertainment that happens throughout the year. And a lot of artists from around the world, they'll come to little New Smyrna Beach to perform. So really? we are live with music in Florida.
Very, very, very interesting. And were you born and raised in the Florida area? Or?
I was raised in Florida, yeah. I was born in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. I moved to Florida probably when I was about 6 months. So I claim Florida. I'm Floridian. In Daytona Beach, yeah.
Yeah, I think you can. So, I think 7 months that might be the cut.
That's the catch.
If you first walked in the place that you were born, I think you could claim it. I think that's
so Daytona Beach is my hometown. Yes.
Got you. And what's the food like down there? I haven't been there, so like what is there I don't even know Floridian. I just know Miami food that's very
right.
Yeah, Cuban food.
There's a mix of food. Almost any and everything. I know one restaurant that I perform at, there's a gentleman, the restaurant is called the Courtyard Grill. They're known for their clam chowder. Then you have another restaurant called Limoncello, which is an Italian restaurant. They're known for their meatballs. So there's just an array of food and different entrees. We even have a taste for Asian food. You can just dive into one section of town and they can provide it for you. I mean, it's a lot of food here.
Got you. And is it a tourist town? You said a lot of people come in, or?
It's considered a beach town. Now, Daytona is more of a tourist attraction because you have the NASCAR. Mm-hmm, Daytona has the world's most famous beach because you can drive on the beach. And then you drive about 20 minutes down the road to New Smyrna Beach, which is more of a beach town, fishing town, very laid back. A lot of retirees come. We have a lot of snowbirds that come. We like to call them snowbirds. They come every, 6 months out the year. When it's too cold up north, they come down here. They're on a beach house for about 6 months, and they go back up to the north. And so
It
it's
might
just
be
a
me.
wonderful town.
I'm looking out my window right now in Wisconsin. It is snowing, and
Really.
yeah, it's snowing in March right now. It's coming down hard right now. So yeah, I would love to be on a beach right now, eating some clam chowder and listening to some live music.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's snowing. So, and it's just past ice fishing season. So
Wow.
can't even do that.
Rainy. It's very windy and rainy today. It's unusually windy today.
Gotcha.
So you all get the snow, we get the rain.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Well, very, very, very cool. So just kind of wrapping up here, in the next couple of years, where do you see things going? I know you touched on it. You have a 5-year plan. What would be ideal for you to happen in the next 5 years, either with your software product or your career or your business, performing live? What would you love to see happen in the next couple of years here?
Yeah, so we want to branch off. The name of the app is called GigMate, and we want that name to have its own brand. The 5-year plan is to actually dive into the market where we have actual music gear that will have the brand. So we have mic stands, we'll have mixers, we'll have microphones. So not only will the individual use the application, but their gear can have that GigMate brand with it. So that's our 5-year plan to actually dive into that market of actual gear, music equipment. So yeah,
That's very, very, very cool. And so coming up on launch here, beta testing, in the next, hopefully next couple of months. What would you? I guess let me put it this way: if there was one thing that you would like your product to supply to live performers, would it be the ease of use? Would it be the non-electronic sound? What would it be if there's one thing that you would love everyone to tell you, hey, I got this from using your product?
peace of mind. I would say peace of mind.
Really?
Yes. Because I have a
Wow.
lot of, like I said, the forum that I'm in, about 4,000 or 5,000 people, they're stressed because they're getting phone
Really?
calls saying, we want you to perform, but they're worried about not being able to provide the quality of sound that they're looking for. So I want GigMate
Really?
to provide peace of mind for musicians.
Wow. Okay. That's very interesting. Okay. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't know. So very niche part of a already kind of I want to say underserved, but like understood industry, like the complexes of the music industry. And so you're in a very specific niche with a lot of money going through, like you said, I mean, live performances, a lot of money going through that as well, but very decentralized as well, because it's very, well, let me ask it. There's no like brand, like there's no like Walmart of live performances where they just have a whole bunch of musicians that there is nothing like that, right? Yeah. Very interesting. So very decentralized, very independent.
Market's out there for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be GigMate on the hardware side.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very interesting thing. And that's why I love, just talking to our clients and partners. You would just never know that. You really would just never know that. Very, very interesting. Well, that's good. I think that's a good place to end it. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to say. So if you could Slack me your albums and, if you have a website or something like that, make sure to put that in the description of the video. But unless you want to shout out anything else besides GigMate and your albums, I think I'm in a good spot here.
I just want to stress that the process was very easy. I stumbled across, I think, an ad on Instagram, or I think it was Instagram, was an ad. And actually, my sister sent it to me because I told her I want to develop an application. And she said, well, I just saw this ad. I looked at the ad. I was like, let me give it a shot. And ever since I clicked the button to do it, it's just been cake. It's been easy. So thank you all for the process that you all take me through. You gave me peace of mind. You gave me the assurance of like they know what they're talking about. And if they don't know, they'll do research and find a way to make it happen. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, likewise, been very seamless to work with. A lot of, and this is something that we kind of have to talk to with many clients about, is like software is like the development of software in its sense is almost an orchestration. You may get out of key for one of the verses, but that doesn't mean that the entire ensemble is ruined. In fact, it might just be a horn that forgot to forgot their, I don't know the orchestra, but whatever. Someone might have forgot to play at a
Right.
certain time or something
Right.
like that. But it's an orchestration. It's a process. So yeah, no, I appreciate your business as always. I'm looking forward to, and this is the one part of Benmore that you haven't experienced yet, is the post-deployment support. That's where it starts getting really fun, where we can start building cool features to like get more people using it, build like lead intake forms. That's when it really gets fun, because more so you're making money, right? You have a direct correlation to, if I put in this feature, can I attract more people to my business and stuff like that. So it's going to be fun going in and continuing our relationship with you post deployments is going to be fun. So, anyways, well, happy to have you on. Hopefully, we'll stay in contact post deployment, and I'd love best of luck into the deployment phase, and we'd love to have you back on in a year or so and see how things are going. I mean, might be the Steve Jobs of the live performance industry. I might see you in a turtleneck coming on. Yeah, in a turtleneck. Yeah, so I gave all that music stuff up. I'm actually, check my Forbes link. No, I'm joking. But
I have other app ideas, so I'll definitely be returning. I'll be returning.
awesome. We'll love to hear it. Well, thanks for hopping on, and yeah, best of luck into launch, and we'll stay in contact. So,
Appreciate it. Thanks, Rich.
all right, I'll see you. Bye.
All right.